She chose her children. The story of Maureen. When you hear single mother, what comes to mind? Struggle, pain, survival? What you should see is strength, discipline, and deep love. This is the story of a Black African widow named Maureen, a woman who chose her children over comfort, a woman who still walks among us today, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a testimony of faith, sacrifice, and persistence. The early pain. Many years ago, in a humble village in southern Africa, a young woman named Maureen got married. She was full of energy, full of dreams. Her husband, a gentle man, loved her deeply. Together they had 2 children, a son, Thabo, and a daughter, Lorado. Life was hard, but it was full of hope. They had plans, like every young couple, but fate had other ideas. Just a few years into the marriage, Maureen's husband passed away. No warning, no time to prepare, just pain, silence, a future interrupted. At that moment, Maureen became a widow. 2 children, no job, no income, no husband, just faith and her hands. She could have remarried people suggested it. You're still young, you can find someone else. But Maureen couldn't do it. She feared a stepfather wouldn't love her children the way she did. She didn't want them growing up confused or mistreated in their own home. She didn't want to gamble with their peace, their future, or their sense of safety. So she decided, I will raise them myself. God will walk with me. It wasn't pride, it was love. The life of a prayer warrior. Maureen didn't just talk about God, she talked to him. Every morning before the sun rose, she was on her knees. She prayed for wisdom, she prayed for strength, she prayed for her children to grow into kind, respectful, successful people. On Sundays, you'd always find her at church, with both children next to her. She didn't just send them to church, she led them there. That's how they learned to pray, to believe, to stand tall, even when life knocked them down. A life of many jobs. Maureen became more than a mother. She became a caregiver. Every morning she visited homes in her community, helping those living with HIV and other illnesses. She cleaned their spaces, comforted them, and gave them human dignity when others had given up on them. Sometimes she was the only person who came by all week. A market vendor. After visiting her patients, she gathered vegetables, often ones she grew herself. She sold them at the market. Tomatoes, onions, spinach, pumpkin leaves. Under the heat, in the dust. With her children, sometimes waiting nearby after school. A seamstress. At night, when the village was quiet, she sat with her sewing machine or needle and thread. She repaired clothes. She stitched school uniforms. She made dresses and aprons. Anything to add a few extra coins for food and school fees. When it still wasn't enough. Even with all that work, money wasn't enough. The economy collapsed. Prices tripled. School fees became heavier. Food was no longer guaranteed. So Maureen made the biggest sacrifice of her life. She decided to leave the country to work as a maid. She left her 2 children with her mother, their grandmother. She kissed them goodbye with tears in her eyes. She carried just 1 small bag and boarded a bus to a country she had never been to before, working as a maid in a foreign land. In the new country, Maureen worked for a family as a live-in maid. She cleaned floors, scrubbed toilets, washed dishes, ironed clothes. She lived in a small room behind the house. She ate what they gave her. She sent money back every month, even when it wasn't enough for her own needs. But she never stopped calling, never stopped praying, never stopped believing that one day her children would rise. Thabo did well in school. He worked hard. He helped his grandmother at home. Lorado stayed disciplined, focused. She respected her mother even in her absence. Eventually, Thabo qualified as a civil engineer. Lorado trained as a nurse, inspired by the kind of service her mother gave to others. They remembered everything Maureen taught them: discipline, prayer, honesty, and hard work. They never forgot. Years later, Lorado and Thabo bought their mother a plane ticket. When Maureen stepped off that flight, she was no longer a desperate single mother. She was the proud mother of 2 accomplished adults. Today, she lives peacefully in the same village where it all began. She is now Gogo Maureen, a grandmother, respected elder, and symbol of hope. Her children take care of her. They build her a home. They make sure her needs are met. And every Sunday, Go-Go Maureen still walks to church. This time not alone, but with her grandchildren by her side. This is a true story, the kind that never makes headlines, but shapes lives. The story of Maureen teaches us, you don't have to be rich to be strong. You don't need applause to make an impact. If you raise your children with love, faith, and discipline, you've already changed the future. She is not a legend. She's still alive, and her life is still speaking.